the one teaching tool that leading piano teachers have always used, but many teachers either forget about it, underuse it, or feel weirdly guilty about it. It's not new. In fact, it's been around forever, long before apps and software and digital pianos. It's also a thing that once you truly embrace it, becomes a total game changer for your teaching. Well, welcome to Piano Teaching Success Podcast, a podcast for piano teachers looking for fresh new ideas, inspiration, and the latest thinking in neuroscience and teaching pedagogy. I'm Gillian.
And I'm Paul, and today we're talking about a must-have teaching tool. And as Gillian said, it has been used by master teachers for decades. It works with every level of student. It makes students sound better instantly, and yet almost no piano teachers are using it properly.
I know. It's ironic, isn't it? Because it's a simple idea. It's using music to teach music.
So what do we mean by teaching music with music, Gillian?
Well, we've always used sound recordings, really. It's always been part of our toolkit, but it hasn't actually been very easy to access. I remember when I was a child learning piano, my teacher would play me records. Oh, gosh, I'm showing my age. And they were recordings of people playing the piece that I was supposed to be inspired by. Actually, I was kind of freaked out by it because it was like Richter playing, Beethoven or Liszt or whatever. And it's like, yeah, I don't think I could ever play it that fast. But, we were limited to that. And then it became, it went to cassettes, didn't it? But then it went to CD.
I had cassettes when I was a kid. And then, yeah, it did.
Did you?
Yeah, and the problem with those cassettes is the more you use them, the more they stretch, so they got out of tune very quickly.
But there was kind of problems with this. You couldn't play along with it, because
they were
too fast. And then if you tried to slow them down, which you really couldn't do on a record player.
No.
Yeah, but if you actually found some technology, I think people try to do it on tapes. I can't remember, but that's right. There was these adjustable tape things, and if you change the speed, it changed the pitch.
Mm.
So it was just too hard to use it as a teaching tool, just an inspiration tool, and perhaps that's why it has been a bit underutilized. But technology's changed.
It certainly has. And, we had some technology back, even 30 years ago, where we were, or over 30 years ago now, but we'll say 30 years ago, when we started our Forte schools, or just before we started our Forte schools, we had the Clavinova Club when Yamaha brought out their Clavinovas. And I remember, didn't you buy one of those super expensive Clavinovas to make it work?
You did. You needed the CVP. I remember it was like the $5,000. $5,000 or something like that. That's what I think it was back then. But could you imagine? That's like $20,000 in today's money to buy one of these things. But anyway, it had the mini little floppy disk drive.
Floppy disks.
Yes.
Yes.
And we were very lucky that they had went to the three, the ones that then became, remember they were in the, I don't know, this is showing my age, but when we first started out with floppy disk, you'd have the sort of 5-inch ones or something or other, and then you had the 3-inch ones or something. Anyway, I just remember having those floppy disks. But that's when you and I, because at that time we had separate music schools and we were just doing our own thing to some extent, but we each went, oh my goodness, those disks, that being able to fasten it up, slow it down, and do things like that.
And keeping it the same pitch.
Yes. That's when you and I went, oh my goodness. And when we started Forte, we would absolutely, had to be one of the must-have elements, wasn't it, to have the music.
And what we found, though, was our teaching rooms were so suddenly full of sound, and the kids were so excited. And of course, we were primarily teaching a lot of group children in groups rather, and so everyone was able to play together. But I, as the teacher, was no longer chained to the piano doing the accompaniment. I could actually get up and see what the kids were doing. I could walk around, listen, correct, and encourage, especially those children who's slumping over after school, and you could just put your finger in their back to make them sit up.
Yeah. And no matter how you have a room placed with groups, there's always somebody you really can't see too much. So it did allow us to get up and go and visit each child and make sure they were on track and things. But I think the overall thing is it just added this, everyone sounded amazing and they felt great because the room filled with sound and beautiful sound. Because these are not just someone playing the piano. These are fully orchestrated, like the big band playing along with you. Yeah.
We transferred that into our private lessons as well. We really wanted to give our students in private lessons the same quality that we could offer them in a group. And so it really started to develop those kids with collaborative playing skills because they had to listen to be able to play along with the tracks. But not only that, we started to get much better stylistic understanding. So, the jazzy pieces sounded jazzy. The classical pieces sounded classical. And all of this happened just instinctively from listening to the music.
I think overall, though, the really big thing is they actually developed a really strong sense of beat, playing in time.
Absolutely.
And it became intrinsic in them, whereas beat's a bit hard to teach, really. Traditionally, you kind of have kids that are kind of natural at it, and you have kids that kind of aren't. But this... from the beginning, it just made them, they all develop musical skills, great listening skills, great, as you said, cooperative playing skills. And it was sort of effortless, really, because it just happened as a consequence of using the tracks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Backing tracks never really took off. And I think one of the reasons was the tech was super expensive. Those disc players cost a fortune. But that was only part of the story because I think no one knew how to use it because they didn't have access to it. And most still don't. And of course, we would use it at the music school, but our students didn't have these. And it was really hard because the kids don't have the use of them at home because parents weren't going to invest in a piano as well as a disc player. And some of them nearly cost more than the piano.
It was always been a brilliant idea, and we certainly used it in the music schools. But the technology wasn't really quite there for a more really comprehensive approach. But now we've got cloud-based storage. So we've really lived through a huge age of technology change when you think about it, from analog recordings into digital and now into cloud-based. So from, records to CDs to even those little plug-in USB things, now cloud. Now everyone just does stuff on the cloud, right? Everything's on the cloud.
So today we're going to share with you 8 reasons that the backing tracks are the greatest undiscovered teaching tool. So the first one is developing a sense of beat. They really lock students into playing in time. They're just like a musical metronome because time becomes embodied. It's not this theoretical thing. And it helps students learn new meters and concepts like swing rhythms or multimeter pieces. And I wanted to share a multimeter piece with you called Snowstorm. It's in 7/8. Have a listen.
Yeah, try doing that with a metronome. Our second point is playing with tracks actually develops real listening skills. So to play with a track, you actually have to listen to the track and you have to fit in with the track. If you make a mistake, it's pretty easy to hear that mistake. It's very evident. They've got the actual piece being played. They're playing along with the piece, if you like. So missing a flat, missing sharps. It's very obvious if they do that. So, which is great because it means they're not practicing in a mistake that you've got to try and correct next week. And I think they're also, they are adjusting their speed in real time, which probably leads us to number 3, which is collaborative playing skills. So they're learning how to play with something else, or someone else, but they don't need an ensemble to do it. Pianists are just historically bad at playing with other people. They're not used to listening. They're not used to thinking about anyone other than themselves. So tracks simulate playing with others. And our students learn how to fit into the music rather than kind of dominating it and just playing with their ears closed.
Oh boy, when I was a kid, I had to learn the hard way by playing the organ at church every Sunday morning. But I remember going, because if I followed them, they'd slow down and get slower and slower, and then I had to speed them up. But you had to really use your ears.
Yeah, and I remember when I was a teenager, I started learning the electronic organ, which was a little bit of a fad at the time. And so I was quite advanced on piano, I don't know, 5th, 6th grade or something like that. And boy, playing along with a rhythm track, I found that so hard, but it was really good. I didn't realize that I didn't play in time until I had to play along with that rhythm track. And so it's the same thing, isn't it? So, but great skills to be able to do that.
And the best thing for teachers, it frees us up to expand our pedagogy. And this is our 4th reason, so that we can make partial learning possible and super powerful. So it's really important for today's kids. They get perfection pretty quickly, and we can do that with using chunks. And so if you do a little snippet of a piece, you can put that into the track and play along with the track, but just play that little chunk, and students can play that along with the music. And so that's really filling in the blanks. They're hearing the other parts, but they're doing their little bit. So it keeps the rhythm and the structure, and it gives them a sense of the whole piece.
When I was a kid, training as a teacher, I did the Trinity College teacher's exam, and one of the principles of teaching was teach the part within the whole. Now that's really hard to do unless you've got a second piano and you're accompanying, but they can't take you home. Then, the students don't have a second piano at home to play into. So it's very hard to teach a chunk and then have the chunk within the whole when you're trying to teach a piece. But this is what tracks make possible. As you say, just teaching a little chunk, mastering that little chunk. And these kids want to master things super quick these days because they're perfectionists. So they can't master the whole piece. They can't even master the whole of the right hand, but they can master a 1-bar, a 2-bar phrase, a 4-bar phrase, and then play that every time it turns up in the music. So I just think that it also teaches form when students have to do that. That's what we find with our kids, with playing with tracks. They understand form. They're learning with the tracks. They understand the form. They know when the repeats are coming. It's not just a sea of notes. They understand the structure. And that's another point that we actually haven't included as one of our 8.
We've got a little video of a Forte class doing some chunk learning with a song called Chord Rap, and they're just playing the chord 1 in this video. Check it out. Here we go, and a 1, 1, 1, 1, and 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 7, 7, and a 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and 5, 7, 5, 7, and the rest 1. Are you ready? Here we go, and a 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, and a 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and 5, 7, 5, 7, and the rest 1. Now one there, we got rest 1, 1 again. Are you ready? Here it comes. Are you ready? And a rest 1, 1. All right, hold the mum's hand that you're with. Or Dad.
Or Dad.
Or Dad. And go back to their spot. Now we're going to make a chord 1 on G major. We're going to make a 1 in G major, so we're going to put our pinky on so. I want you to close your books. Close your books to start with. So put your pinky on so and build a chord 1, starting on so. So find your so, and build your left hand. Yes, in your left hand. And build a chord 1.
Left hand pinky, this one.
That's it, Alex, you got it. Good work. Alright. So we're going to go.
Which is
One. Your turn. So you've got to play a whole chord 1. So you've got to build a chord 1. So you've got to play a whole chord 1. Alright, put your feet on that. Put your feet on that footstool. Curl your fingers. Play tips of your fingers. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2. Here we go. 1. And have a break. Just leave that out. Leave the 5/7 out at the moment. Because we haven't loaded that one yet. Alright, so that's the easy bit. You can clap the 5/7s for me. Here we go. So you've got to find your chord 1 again. Are you ready? Here we go. Are you ready? And a 1. Have a break, clap, clap. And a 1. And clap. And a rest. Good work, we go again. Are you ready? Here we go. And a 1. Have a break and listen. And a 1. Have a break. And a rest. You got one more 1-1. Are you ready? Here it comes. Are you ready? And a rest. Give the mum or dad that you're with a high five.
Don't you just love that? I just love that ending. It's so cute. They're waiting for it. And our 5th reason is tracks expose students to a wide variety of musical styles, which means they learn how to interpret without us actually having to go through that. And when you think about interpretation, it's something that's often not even experienced or thought about as a concept to teach until well down the track, at least by intermediate or grade 3 type students. If you're doing exams, but it's something that beginners even absorb. If you like cha-cha-cha, our first piece, someone teacher, Kathleen, emailed me to say that she was dancing around the kitchen with cha-cha-cha on. She loved it so much. It's infectious, isn't it? So, and who can't get into the feeling of Latin with that little track? And the kids feel the beat. And I remember once many times seeing kids at the concerts, and you could hear, they weren't playing with the track, but you could hear them, you could see them listening to the track in their head. It's giving them the soundtrack in their head to play along with. And I think that's something as more sophisticated, as you go down the track, you actually hear the orchestra in your head when you play. We do, but little beginners don't. And I think it takes a while for people to develop that skill. So, yeah, this is where rap and Latin and even Baroque music with beautiful counter melodies can be experienced. And they may not be playing that counter melody, or maybe they are playing the counter melody and we want them to emulate a beautiful cello part. And we try to say, we'll play that legato. But there's nothing like a track to give the feeling. And we have a track for you. It's called Bach Prelude in C minor. I'm sure many of you have taught this. It's it's part of our repertoire of pieces that we would teach our students. So listen to this track. I just love it.
I just love the sound of that cello. It just tells you how to play it, really, doesn't it?
It does.
And we've got another one for you, completely different style, called Snake Charmer. Check this one out.
Okay, so we're playing these two completely different tracks because you can see Cha-Cha, you've seen Cha-Cha-Cha, you've listened to Cha-Cha-Cha perhaps from episode 1 and 2, Snake Charmer, you might have heard Radetzky March in episode 3 or 4, and now Snake Charmer, which is this very different style of music, and then the Prelude in C minor. You can see that we can give our students this whole musical understanding, whole exposure to many different styles of music that many times they haven't ever listened to these different styles of music at all. Some houses, they don't play much music at all. And in other houses, they do play music, but it's very narrow in what the parents are playing to the children. So yeah, tracks are fabulous from that perspective. And they're also fabulous for retention and motivation because there's nothing like a great sounding track because you sound so impressive. And you can think about what beginner wouldn't love to play with cha-cha-cha. And of course, that's if they're feeling successful and they're feeling like they sound cool, that means they feel motivated, which means they want to practice. And of course, that leads to retention because of their excitement. And that excitement, of course, fuels the practice because they want to show mum, hey, look, listen to me. I sound good.
And using tracks at home for practice instantly activates that memory retrieval of what was learned in the lesson. We all know how music reminds us of things, and we know the stories of elderly people who come alive when they hear music. Well, our brain comes alive when we listen to music, especially if we've done something embodied along with the music. So we might have sung along to it, moved along to it. All those memories come flooding back when we start playing the music. So it also enables students to do the activities that you might have done at the lesson at home, especially in preparation for that partial playing or the chunking that you've done. So they can press play and the lesson comes flooding back.
Yeah, and so number 8 is really tracks work for everyone and everything. So you can use tracks to teach everyone, adults, beginners, all age groups, teens love it, and every level, like beginners with cha-cha-cha you saw, and more advanced students like with Prelude in C minor. And you can use tracks to teach pieces and scales and rhythm and even creativity. So back in the day this maxim of using music to teach music, which was sound recordings of mostly advanced repertoire, now we can use tracks to teach, and with pieces. Now we can use tracks to teach anything we like, scales, rhythm, creativity, pieces, everything. And we can use it for our beginners because that's what makes music comes alive. It sort of takes it from being black and white to technicolor because it adds that whole new dimension. And we are teaching music. It should be wonderful. So we have a little, just to show you a little tempt you, see how that you can use these tracks really easily. I think a lot of piano teachers really find hard, which is creativity, and particularly with beginners. Well, here's a video where Paul actually is teaching a beginner little improvisation.
A beginner adult,
yes,
too.
A beginner adult. Even harder. Okay, so you might want to know what to look for when choosing tracks. Well, here's our top 5 things. Firstly, sound and style. Orchestral or band-based recordings. They are instantly engaging. It's, as I said before, like technicolor, and they teach genre and character and so much more. So that's first thing. Like, some tracks are just someone playing a piano recording. It's not very exciting. Like, it's not going to make me go out and get my tech set up and everything just to hear someone playing piano. I might listen to it once, but it's not very motivational. It's just one-dimensional. And you've just got this kind of one person playing one thing. It's just not, it just doesn't have the kind of oomph, I think, that the full orchestra and gives. Second point, structure and playability.
Absolutely. Because, you can have the best sounding tracks in the world, but if the student can't play when they're supposed to come in at the right time, they're not going to enjoy doing it. And so you want to make sure those tracks have a musical intro. I don't know about you, but we don't want just tick, 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 tick in.
That's all right. It's the right time. I can't do it. I sort of come in at the right time.
It's hard.
But I don't come in at the right time. I like the right speed or something. It's so hard.
It is. And if you have a musical intro, like a couple of bars musical intro, you get to the sense of the piece as well. And it's so wonderful. Like, if I would always encourage my students, if they're doing a concert performance, is hear it in your head before you start playing, and also it settles them down. And then, of course, if it's got a nice ending, you don't get that thing where the kids, their hands are off the piano and they are off the piano at the same time.
Running away.
Yeah, I think it's really good. The other thing is that when the piece has repeats in it, and now they might not be paying repeats in a concert or in the exam, but you get more practice time, more bang for your buck in terms of time at the piano, because the multiple repeats, it gets the kids remembering it more.
So look for tracks with multiple repeats. Now, the tracks that you've been hearing that we've been playing you today come from our studio, which is, as you know, as our membership for piano teachers. And there's hundreds. There's maybe 500.
Thousands.
Yeah, maybe.
Of pieces, yes.
Pieces
There's well over 500 pieces. There's thousands of tracks.
Yeah, they're all curated into levels, like beginners are all together and elementary is all together. So they're easy to find as well. But yes, they come from that. And so what we've built into to make sure with all of our beginner pieces is that they've got multiple times through, at least twice, sometimes more, depending on the piece. And also what we've really made sure we've done is had a wide variety of musical styles. Too much classical is boring, but also too much rock and roll is also boring. And so really the children really respond to, and they develop these expansive musical tastes by learning pieces of many, many different genres. And sometimes it's the track, when they listen to the track, go, yeah, I want to learn that piece. It sells it. Make sure if you've got a jazz piece, the track should sound jazzy, not those hooked on classics type ones, Pop pieces should sound pop. Anime pieces or soundtrack should sound like a soundtrack, and classical should sound classical, etc. Because students learn that stylistic characteristics almost subconsciously from hearing those tracks.
Yes. And tracks that are integrated into teaching software, which have adjustable speeds, which means you can slow it down and without changing the pitch, is super important. And having the ability to loop. Oh my gosh. I've got some older students at the moment, and we are looping our parts, starting super slow and then just gradually building up by a couple of beats and things like that. It is amazing, their progress from doing that. And so it really enables them to drill down on one section.
Our practice buddy tracks have this ability. It's in a software that has, you can actually set I want this to this, because you see the score. The score comes up and you pick from this bar to that bar. Graphically, you go from that bar to that bar, and it'll just play those bars again. That's what we mean by looping.
And having that embedded score is critical, I think, for students to follow as long as the track is playing. And this really helps with reading and eye tracking. It's amazing how quickly they just identify the music when they have to start doing this at home. It really makes a huge difference. There's a little orange thing that goes along with the music. And also they can have optional keyboard visuals, which are especially good for beginners if they need to see which key to play.
Absolutely. And fifth point for our top 5 things to look out for is accessibility. It has to be easy to access. Oh gosh, if you're written around your computer trying to find, where did I put that track? I think it was here. And then you got another track and it's somewhere else on your computer or whatever. It's too hard. Look for something where you've got it hosted in one place, online, rather than dealing with downloads. And also it has to be easily shareable because your students need to use this at home. Again, if you're sending them a file here and a file there, they're never going to find out where it is. So it needs to just be worth the effort to sign in. So it has to sound great, they have to feel great playing it, and they have to have access to multiple tracks because otherwise they're not going to log in just for one track. You've got to be doing multiple things. It's got to be bang for buck. It's got to be worth it. If you have the same system in your place and they have it their place, this is what we find with Practice Buddy. It looks exactly the same in the teacher studio as it does at home. Then they get familiar with how it all kind of goes together and then they use it.
What I love is that all of our music has QR codes on it, so they can literally put their device up to the QR code and they are there with the track instantly.
Yeah, that's pretty good. QR codes. It's like there are some gifts from COVID, aren't there? QR code. The world getting understanding what QR codes is. It's been one of them. Well, let's have a look at a few common objections because, sometimes I think teachers have maybe stepped out a little bit because it's not really familiar territory. They only experience this themselves as maybe an advanced student. But they don't really know how to use it. They can see this as a good idea. I think some teachers may feel like it's cheating, that they should read the notes because, I had to learn how to read the notes, so they need to learn how to read the notes. And look, reading is vital, but it doesn't always have to be the entry point for learning.
It certainly is, and it's developed over time. And, I know many teachers often say, well, that's not how I learned. Your teacher used the best tools available at that time. And we know that Bach learnt by ear, as did everyone before about, I think it was only 1827 or something, when sheet music started to become easier to access through the advent of paper, but it was still expensive. So historically, musicians have always learned by listening first.
Exactly. And then I think there are some teachers who have really, have tried backing tracks a little bit, dipped their toe in the water, and their kids didn't like it. Well, the students sort of were reluctant. And I think it's probably likely a teaching process issue, not a track issue. Maybe they took it too fast. They started at too high a level for the student who is not used to playing in time. That is one of the skills that you've got to go for first if you're doing this with more advanced students. Easy to do it with beginners because they don't know anything. If you start with tracks from the beginning, they play in time from the beginning and it's easy. So I think sometimes we as teachers can expect too much too quickly. And we have to remember that we have to scaffold in some new learning. We think, oh yeah, of course they should be able to play with the track. But actually, we don't actually think about what the skills that they need to do, those listening skills that aren't really very well developed. So we have to sort of put some time and effort into doing that.
I think the key point, Gillian, is learning to play with tracks is actually a skill itself. And as teachers, we need to scaffold this over time. But I can tell you can expect those beginners to learn quickly and develop their skills if you start with tracks.
Absolutely. So just to be clear, this isn't about replacing reading. It's about teaching with music, teaching music with music. And recordings have always been a good idea. Technology has finally caught up to make this a teaching strategy super accessible for us to take our teaching to a whole new level. So we hope you try this out at home. We are going to give you access to that little improvisation because you can use that with any student, any age. You saw it with an adult. You can use it with a beginner, a little one, even an intermediate or advanced if they haven't done any improvising before. So it's a fantastic way to start. And so we're giving you this backing track to try it. The link to it is in the show notes. Now, you've already got Cha-Cha-Cha from episodes 1 or 2. And if you haven't got that already, go back and get that. But now you can add the improvisation track as well.
You might even like to try it yourself.
Yes.
There we go. If you've never done improvisation before, now's your chance.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can grab the link in the show notes, or if you've already subscribed to our newsletter, it's already in your inbox. And if you're not subscribed, well, then make sure you go to pianoteachingsuccess.com, go down to where it says get our podcast straight to your inbox, and put yourself on the list there. You'll never miss an episode or a free resource again. So I hope you enjoyed today. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.